I'll start. You want to?
Yeah, you'll start.
Sorry, Jordan.
We'll go to Adam after.
Okay, thank you, Jordan. A few things. So Adam, Archie, still out, but Archie's been active on the pitch. Adam's feeling better. Chris Somerville is on the pitch, but not yet training with the team, but he should be in team training by next week and be available for next weekend, so that's a bonus. Stuart Dallas, still injured. And then Coops is a little bit questionable still with this, and Tyler Adams is a little bit questionable for our match, so we'll see. That'll be more a match day decision with those two. Last one is that Cody Drama. I think there'll be an announcement about his loan later today, but he will be going out on loan.
Thank you for that,
Yep.
Jesse. And on that last one, Luton Town, we think?
Yes.
That'll be the right thing?
Yes, I'll
Yeah.
give you that.
Okay, thank you very much.
Yep.
Is it worth risking, even if there is a slight doubt, the likes of Cooper Adams this weekend?
I just want to see where they're at. I want to give them still the chance because I don't think their injury is so bad that they still have a possibility. And we want to go to Accrington and make sure that we go for the victory. We've gotten the chance to push in this tournament, and we want to take it totally seriously and make sure in every way that we put our best foot forward. So we'll see. We'll see how those guys are.
Having seen Accrington this week, Jesse, and the FA Cup, which you know a little bit about now, do you feel the occasion, the situation is right to give Jorginho Ruto maybe a debut as well? Yeah,
I think first, Georgie's looked really good in training. I think there's a high probability that we start with him. And I think he's impressed in training, and he's an intelligent guy. And like I said before, by being in Germany, he understands a lot of the principles that we use. So, I'm excited to get him going, for sure.
And was there any part of you, I know Robin Koch was suspended for the Forest game to follow, but they did perform well together, Robin Koch and Max Fuber. Are you tempted just to give that another go to improve that relationship more than, say, involving Liam or somebody else?
Yeah, I think the reason why they performed well together is because they're both very intelligent. And even though they hadn't played together before, I think they understand the tactical roles, the principles, and then they committed to it at a very high level on the day. So it's a definite possibility that we could play with them again. But then we will have to figure out how to address missing Robin for the match against Nottingham for sure.
You talked a bit about not having been beaten as a head coach by a lower league side. How important is that to you? And is that something that the FA Cup has made you aware of, rather than that was something that was always in your head before?
We always, in the US, would talk about the FA Cup, even when we were like 7. Like, you'd be out on the pitch with your buddies, and you'd be like, it's the FA Cup final. And, so we are very aware of what the tournament means, right? What it holds in terms of the David versus Goliath and how that can be a very inspiring narrative. For us, one of the reasons why I feel like we've always managed with the teams that I've been with to handle cup moments like this is because I want the team to always play with full intensity and never to take anything for granted. And against lower division teams, I think that's maybe the most important thing, is that when you step on the pitch that you know that this is going to be a very difficult match, and that we play to our highest level, that we go after the game physically, and that we manage the match. So that will certainly be our emphasis come Saturday.
You've been kind enough to mention Cody Drama going out and sort of talk a little about the window. Are you changing your attitude?
No, I'm not.
Nothing
so
Weston
else.
McKennie, we can't say anything.
No, nothing else to speak.
But we do have another American in the building, Chris Armas.
Yes.
So why is he important to you? What will he bring?
First, we tried to bring Chris here in the summer, and he had some personal issues that made it very difficult for him to commit to coming here at that time, which I fully understood. Once Jacko it was clear that Jacko was going to leave, this was the first target that was in my mind, and actually when I spoke to Victor, it was the first name that came out of Victor's mouth as well. So I know him very well. We played together for 8 years. We coached together for 3.5 years. The respect I have for him as a person and as a football mind is at a very high level. And as a human being, he's one of the best people I've ever met in this business. So it's already, I think he's had a positive impact. I've seen him have a lot of little conversations around the training ground here to get to know our guys, because I think that's one of the things he's really good at, is getting to know people and then help them develop who they are and invest in who they are. So, and then he obviously understands the league by being at Man U, the football that I like to play, that we're trying to play. So I think in every way it's a good fit.
And finally for me, Jack Harrison, how important is it the club ties him down? There's a lot of talk about his future.
Yeah, I've heard, I haven't read anything, but I've heard from different people that there's things about Jack out there. But I will say that his commitment to being here has been amazing. He's in incredible form. I think he's played really well in every match since he's got back from his injury, since we've gotten back from the winter. And he's an important guy for us. So I haven't even discussed it with Jack, because for me it's really clear. He's an important player for us, and he's on track, and we need him. So yeah, he'll be ready for Saturday as well.
Thank you.
Yep.
Hi Jesse, you've spoken about Chris Armas and the importance of having him here for you. Explain to us why he's so special, why he's so important to have around in the dressing room, next to you in the dugout, and so on.
Well, maybe first it'll take away the Ted Lasso moniker from me so much and give it to him. That might be better. We know each other. You know, it's always, like even Frankie Sheemer and I, we worked together in the past. It was 2 years. Chris and I have known each other a long time. We've won championships together. We've had hard losses together. We've been, we've played for the national team together. We've worked together as coaches. There's been a very close tie in both of our careers and the experiences that we've had. My respect level for him as a player, as a teammate, was higher than probably any other teammate I ever had in my entire career. He was my captain when I was at the Chicago Fire. But more so, I felt like he was my partner in the midfield, as we were kind of the two defensive midfielders that I think helped that club be so successful in the time frame that we were together. And then what we built in New York together, I think, was also really special. So even when he got the experience in Man U, I was excited for him. I knew that he would do well. And I knew that it would, in some ways, kind of qualify him to be with me at some point in this adventure that I'm on in Europe. And then, once everything came about in the summer, I thought it would have been a perfect fit, but just personally in his life, it wasn't the right time. But now I think it is the right time, and he'll be, I think, in every way help us communicate effectively with the team and invest with the team in ways to make them better.
And what will he give to the players specifically day to day?
Yeah, well, I think he knows the principles, the tactics. He has a very clear understanding of the football we want to play. But I think even more so, he's a guy that's very good in relationships. He's very good at understanding people, at being a good listener, at sharing experiences, at challenging people to be their best, because that's what he represents every day. So, yeah, I think in every way he'll be a big help.
Accrington Stanley in the Cup, they're struggling in League One. How much do you know about the team and the dangers they could pose?
Yeah, well, first, when I went down with my wife to watch the match, it was this is how managers, I think, manage to find date nights, as you take your wife to a football match. I met Andy Holt and Dave Burgess, and they were both very gracious and welcoming to us. We sat by them. I saw what the ground was like, which I think is always special when you play some of the lower division teams, exactly what the environment is like at the match. I think they have a lot of pride in the pitch they have. They have a stitched pitch, and they clearly took care of it really well. So that was the first good sign I had, and they were proud to show me the condition of the pitch. And then, I think they have a lot of pride in what they've built down there. They've kind of rebuilt the VIP area, so even I think our away fans will have a nice opportunity to enjoy. They have a nice bar area. They have a nice stadium atmosphere. I know that our fans will come in numbers and enjoy the experience. And then, watch closely what their team's about. And their team competes hard. You could see they valued the tournament in a big way, that they cared a lot about winning the match. They competed in every moment. It's a lot of set piece, long throw-ins. I think they'll play a lot of long balls. They'll clearly try to defend hard and play direct against us. And we'll have to be ready for that, and we'll have to be ready also to play our kind of football, to be confident, to go after the game, to command the ball, to score goals. This will be the challenge for us on the day.
Fantastic. Cheers, Jesse.
Yep.
Hey Jesse, Cody Dramé has at times looked like his future might lie elsewhere, but this is just a straight loan, I believe. Are you pleased about that, and can you see a future here for him?
Yes, I see no doubt a future here for him. He and I have, I think, formed a pretty strong relationship over the last 8 months. And if I go back to the first time I met him, and he was very dissatisfied about coming back, and kind of expressed that he didn't think that this was going to be right for him. But over time, us getting to know each other and him being a part of what we've been building here, I think he sees his potential here, the potential of what we're doing as a club. And I think he has a lot more excitement about the possibility of what the long-term commitment and project could be like. And I told him when he left that, it was unfortunate that we didn't have, with both Luke and Rasmus right now, that we just didn't have more opportunities for him to develop right here, right now with us, because in many ways I think he's ready for those challenges. But we were also very clear with each other that we thought it was important that he go to a club that is pushing for something, that challenges him in a lot of ways, that I think as a person he's developed a lot in the last 8 months, and I think he's ready to put that to the test at a higher level than even being at Cardiff last year. So, and by the way, a lot of clubs were interested in him. And so it was just trying to find the right challenge for him, so that when we see each other again in June, and we'll be in contact, I made sure to tell him that we'll be in contact over the next months, but that when we see each other again in June or end of May, that he's ready for more here, and that he's improved and grown and is ready for big challenges here with us.
Luis Sinisterra came back last weekend. Given the nature of his injury, is it expected to be a fairly simple progress from here on in, or do you have to be quite cautious?
We just had an individual meeting with Luis and talked about a lot of the different developments that he's had over the past months. We feel that physically he's moving himself in a good direction, but that we have to increase his fitness for sure. But he will play on Saturday, and he'll be ready to go. And I think that's the best thing for him right now, are really match minutes.
Hi Jesse, the schedule's been pretty full on, hasn't it, since we came back from Christmas? You've had the benefit of a free midweek this week just gone, you've got a free midweek next week. You've said the team's obviously in a good moment, you feel they're building progress. How much importance do you place on keeping those players in the team this weekend and not giving them what would be 2 weeks off between Brentford and Forest games?
No, I think everyone who's available will be in consideration to start and now push to be sharp in this match and continue our momentum and progress and make sure that we go after a win in a big way. So what that will mean exactly, we'll figure out, because some guys do need a rest. Like, if I look at Rodrigo, for example, he's invested so much in the last weeks, and he's still a potential to start, by the way. But I think just trying to find ways for guys to continue to the rhythm, the progress, the sharpness, but also not push them so that they're risking injury. That'll be the key.
You've never wavered in your message of support from the boardroom. You've always felt that, even in the toughest moments. What message do you think externally it sends, the appointment of Chris Armas to your backroom staff? That's another clear public show of supporting you, isn't it?
Yes, I think so. We have been very aligned, and I understand the criticism. We have to win more. So, but the work that's been done behind the scenes by the leadership group within the club and by the team and the support staff here at Thorpe Arch has been some of the best I've been a part of as a professional. So I'm very thankful to be here. I'm very thankful for the support I have. I'm very thankful for the work that we commit to every day. And I know to 100% that we are on the right path, and we are going to get better and better.
Thank you.
Jesse, just in terms of yourself and Chris, you both had sort of Red Bull educations, if you want to call it that way, in terms of your coaching. I just wonder what sort of foundation that gives you, because we've seen so many good coaches come through that network in recent years.
Yes, I think you could call it Red Bull, you could call it also the German, I think, way of thinking about football, has taught us all a lot. And one of the interesting things is in there, I think every coach has their own way of interpreting exactly what those philosophies and principles and tactics are. And maybe it's similar to how Pep and Arteta do some things differently, right? Or now when you see Vincent Kompany, how he's trying to play similar Pep football, but does it a little bit differently as well. And it's about modifying for what you think is important, what your player pool is, and how to use principles and experiences to reward the team that you're working with at the moment and help make them the best that they can possibly be. So I think I've always had good mentors in my life, and certainly a lot of the people that I met through Red Bull and in Germany were a big part of my development.
I spoke to Tom de Recker last season about it, and he said that he was talking about the big office at Salzburg was just such a good place to just exchange ideas with your fellow coaches. It sounded almost like a football university in terms of the way you were able to learn from each other. Yeah,
yes, you're right. I mean, I could start naming names if you'd like, but guys like, there. One of the things that happened in Red Bull is there was like preparation for developing sport directors, for academy directors, for scouting departments, for video analysis, for coaches, for players. And in all those areas, I think a lot of people have developed to grow and move forward in a way to take on big responsibilities at some big clubs all around the world. And I think for me with coaching, the exchanges that I had with guys like Marco Rosa, Julian Nagelsmann, Gerhard Struber, Ralph Hasenhüttl, Ralph Rangnick, obviously, and to see how Adi Hütter, I could, there's so many amazing coaches, and to see how each one of them interpreted what they thought was important within the game differently, and what the similarities were, has been very interesting. I mean, Adi Hütter wins the Europa League last year, and he's in second place, I think, this year. He's doing a great job. I could go down the list that's Oliver Glasner. Oliver Glasner is another one. So anyway, there's a lot of different people, a lot of Germans, right? Germans and Austrians, but that I've learned a lot from that have helped me along my way.
Thank you.
Yep.
To follow on from that then, what has the Premier League taught you, or what has it made you think differently about since you've come here? What have you learned from it?
Yeah, now you have to try to put your principles to the test at the highest level against opponents that can manage every aspect and phase of the match in ways that maybe your teams haven't been challenged before. And then what are the solutions to deal with those moments? How to make sure that your pressing tactics are clean and clear against every opponent, how to make sure your with the ball and build-up phase is clean and clear, and your counter-pressing is also managed effectively, how to defend deep against opponents, because a lot of times when we press high and we're successful, we're not forced to defend deeper into our own third, but here where the opponents are so good, you're challenged more in those ways. So how to make sure that we're good at defending deep moments, but still aggressive and still good at pressing in some of those moments. And then, obviously with the way we want to play is how to continue to be good in transition, even when the defenders are great and the attackers are great going the other direction. And just how to continue to build clarity and effectiveness into the tactical plan with everything that we do every day. Certainly one of the things you have here in England are a lot of teams that like to mimic the way Pep Guardiola plays. So managing, playing against big switches and 1v1 situations on the wing becomes very important. Then what that means to defending the back post. So there's a lot of little challenges for what this league is that are different than Germany, that are different than Austria, that are different than the US. And then the obvious one is the quality. So I feel like it's made me better, and it's forced me to adapt more than anything. It's forced me to adapt tactically what we want to do with with how we manage games.
Is there any part of you that's been tempted to sort of tap into the Guardiola model, or to I suppose, take on board some of what he does? Or
Yeah, I think yes. The answer is yes, and I have in some ways. Even one of the things that comes out that James made me clear with was this thing that was up in our dressing room and then went out on Twitter, and some people reacted to minimum width. That's actually a Pep Guardiola principle. So it's something that we still talk about with the way that we do things and what we do in possession, and how we want to be vertical in attack, and then how we want to also make sure that we're managing counter-pressing when we lose it. So, I mean, there's obviously little things that you pick up, even from set-piece perspective, some things that teams do that I just flat-out steal. So that's what being a manager is, I think, for me. It's part imagination, part innovation, and part thievery. And then how to do it in a way that fits exactly what you want to be and what you want your team to do.
Jesse, Leeds have lost to lower league opposition in the FA Cup quite a lot in recent times. How aware are you of that history, and how keen are you to avoid that otherwise it'd be quite a big setback to this momentum?
Well, I'd heard going into the FA Cup this year that we hadn't had a home match in quite some time, that we hadn't got out of the fourth round in quite some time. So I was aware of these things. The exact details of what year, what match, what score line, all those things, not exactly clear. But I told you that Angus gave me this subtle call to say maybe we should, play a good lineup in the first match against Cardiff. But internally, we've talked that we want to push in this tournament, and we want to give ourselves a chance and our fans a chance to have a cup run. So everybody on the inside, for sure, is clear on that.
And you said there's momentum. How big a blow would it be then to that momentum if you were to lose to?
We can't allow that to happen. We have to be only focused on making sure we have a good start, and then always put our best foot forward to make sure that we get the win in this match.
Matt?
Hi Jesse, can I just quickly ask about the merits of lacking width and not playing with it? What's the idea and principle behind it?
Well, it's always about controlling the space of the opponent, whether you have the ball or whether you don't have the ball. You want to be compact so that you can manage moments of transition. If you're open, then you can't manage transition, because when you lose balls or when you win balls, you can't be vertical enough. And then you either have to get into defensive phase if you lose it, or you have to get into build-up phase if you win it, because you don't have enough options to either attack vertically or defend vertically. And ultimately, that's what we're trying to do, is we're trying to manage spaces within the match so that we're very aggressive and effective in attacking transition, and we're very clear on how to win the ball back quickly and protect ourselves from vertical transition from the opponent.
So if some fans were to criticise you and say you just don't like wingers, wide players, that's not correct.
No, listen, we always have width, and then it's just a matter of how wide and where we want to play with the ball and what we want to do when we win or lose the ball. I joke often and say the goal's not on the sideline, on the touchline. The goal's in the middle, on the end line. And so when we win balls, we don't want to run to the corner. We want to run to the middle of the pitch where the goal is. And that's how you score goals. And listen, even now, I feel like lately we're more effective in both aspects of defending transition and attacking transition. And that will be key for us to continue to manage matches and to continue to get results.
Hi Jesse.
Hi.
Just in terms of when Leeds United won the FA Cup 50 years ago last season, with one of the greatest sides in the club's history, I just wondered, when you took the job, when you did your research into that great side, and obviously the club's entire history, and whether you've ever spoken to likes of Eddie Gray, who played in that team, about that side, and obviously what would it mean to you to write your own FA Cup history?
You do this job to win trophies. And I've been lucky enough to be part of teams that have done that. Whether it was in Leipzig, I had a very good, as an assistant and as a head coach, we had a very good cup record. In Salzburg, very good cup record. As a player, very good cup record. As a coach in MLS, a very good cup record. And again, it's because I've always taken it very seriously, and I always know it's an opportunity to glory. Now, if you were to talk to me now, it's way too early for us in our process and in this tournament to start talking about that. But obviously, everything that we do here, every morning I get up at the crack of dawn, I do it with the idea of getting our club and our team closer to even the possibility of starting to have that discussion internally. And then ultimately winning. That's why I do this. And I love people, and I love relationships, and I love leadership, but I want to be a winner, period. That's why I do this.
And just in terms of when you were a young boy growing up in America, can you give us any of your FA Cup memories that stand out?
Well, when I was young, it was almost vernacular because we couldn't watch it on TV, because that dates me maybe a little bit. But I remember watching Arsenal when they had a good run under Wenger late in his career, when they were winning some of the FA Cups. I remember in college watching some matches, recalling exactly who was in all of them. I'm not totally sure, but I always remember the shape of the cup, what it looked like. So hopefully someday I'll get to see it.
Thanks very much.
Good. Thank you, guys.
The future Jesse, 1995 Everton.